Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
Hello, I'm Chinta Strausberg, producer and host of On the Case, and I have two very, very special guests today. And one is Ronald Collins. He is a member of Saint Sabina, and Brother Barney Muhammad, who has been associated with Saint Sabina since he was a little kid, actually. Welcome to On the Case.
Welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to be talking about what's happening to Father Michael Pfleger, who has been at the church pastor of St. Sabina since 1981. And for the fifth time since 2021, he has been falsely accused of molesting boys, and now it's a girl who went to St. Sabina Academy. How do you feel about that, Brother Muhammad? Let's go with you first. How do you feel about that?
Well, first I want to say thanks. I want to start by invoking God's permission in my talking, so that we will be guided by His command. And I want to say that when I heard this latest charge, I already had understood the science of what was happening to Father Pfleger from years of his working on behalf of our community and just on behalf of truth and justice. So I felt that I was compelled to stand as a witness, not to what they were charging or not charging, but stand as a witness to the man that I had been blessed to view and to say what I need to say based on what I have viewed.
Right. So why do you think people are doing this to him? And we never know who these people are, like the two boys in Texas, the brother, and then the third one came out of the blue. We never get to know. Father Mike has never been able to face his accusers. Is that right?
Well, that's I think one of the reasons why you had me to come on here, because I absolutely thought that was unjust, and I styled a statement in Facebook countering the crucifixion of Father Michael Pfleger. I necessarily wasn't dealing with the individual cases, but I was looking at the pattern of those who come to the community and will not bow to the powers that are keeping the community in the condition it is. Black people, brown people, and poor people are colonized by powers in this country. And when you get a man, whether it be Father Pfleger or the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that speaks to the reformation and the justice and the overcoming of the persecution of a people, then those in power, as the scriptures say, will begin to plot against them in order to bring down and stop them and to deter them from what they're doing. And in other words, to me, using a metaphor of crucifixion, it can be some boys in Texas they can use. It could be some girls in Alabama, but the plot is still the same. You bring something that cannot be proven in order to slow down the progress of the man or the woman that's making the progress. And so I didn't necessarily know any of the individuals that made the charges or the recent one that has made the charge. But I mentioned in my letter on Facebook that in the righteous community, if you make a charge and you don't have any evidence, and in this case, they have not shown that they've had any evidence against Father Pfleger, So whoever it is, whether they be in Texas, Alabama, or Russia, there is a condition of in Deuteronomy chapter 19, 16 to 21. If a witness was found to have deliberately given false testimony, the judges were instructed to impose on the false witness the punishment that the accused would have received. So people coming, not only making charges, but not having evidence, then whatever the punishment would have been had it been true should be exacted on those making the charges.
That's true. I know the last time I had asked Father Mike when he was released and had a press conference outside of the church, he said that I asked him, are you going to sue or, try to get justice? And he frowned at me and he said, no. So I don't think he's going to go after the woman who said he allegedly sexually molested her. And by the way, it's supposed to have happened at Saint Sabina School, and that's adjacent to the church, and it's from kindergarten to 8th grade. I mean, the whole thing sounds preposterous, actually. Ronald Collins, how do you feel about this?
First of all, I would agree that the repetitive nature of these searches, of these unwarranted searches, reveal the obvious need for motive. And I think as we uncover, or whenever we uncover the reason for these misdirected and contrived accusations, we will uncover and or expose a sinister influence that is triggered by Father Mike's unrelenting pursuit of justice. You know that he speaks on behalf of the marginalized community, and his demand of full citizenship for all members of our community is very unsettling for those in places of influence and in power. And Father Mike is very consistent. I like to describe him as a cleric who lives his sermon. And his integrity, his hard work, and his work speaks for itself, suggests that there aren't versions of Father Mike, just as there aren't versions of the truth. And his work, his commitment, and the body of evidence suggests that he is again being victimized by an unknown and unidentified source or sources that have been able to activate individuals who are willing to place themselves in the middle of this controversy, and they are literally without voice. They're asked to prove their assertions, and due diligence on behalf of the diocese has proved nothing in the way of evidence as to the charges that are made against him. So it is unfortunate, and it is similarly unrelenting in that 5 times now, having gone through this process, due diligence hasn't yielded one iota of evidence. And to that end, I feel that the Catholic Church is quite guilty of overreach in this instance. And this rush to judgment finds him displaced while they go about the business of attempting to uncover evidence to validate these charges. That's not going to happen. It hasn't happened before. And they reached into his past, and we've heard it and you've read it, dating back to his years in high school. So with that kind of discovery in place and the repeated nature that it has taken, and not yielding any evidence to corroborate the stories that have been brought forward by his accusers, suggest that this is another attempt to defame, to compromise the man and his ministry.
That's absolutely true. And what they're doing is trying to shut him up. And, no one's going to shut up Father Mike.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And so the criticism began when he washed the feet of so many people, ethnic groups that Trump had had disparaged and made disparaging remarks and enacted laws that were purely racist. So what's up with the washing of the feet and then this explosion of complaints against Father Mike? Mr. Muhammad, can you answer that?
Well, as you had mentioned earlier, this has been going on for a while, long before the washing of the feet. So what we are witnessing is constantly the attacks are being maneuvered. We're looking at someone playing chess and we're playing checkers, meaning that I don't believe there is one issue that they're going after Father Pfleger. I believe there is a military or an effort to begin to test the waters and the temperature of the people to see whether or not they would allow not only Father Pfleger to be attacked, but will they allow Minister Farrakhan to be attacked? Sometimes things are just a prelude to something else. When they came after Jesus, and people say, well, why do you keep equating Father Pfleger to Jesus? We're dealing with principles, and Jesus represents a principle, not that someone is Jesus. They're representing a principle. And when the government or the people in power don't like what someone is doing or saying to the people or raising the people up to a level where they're free of the powers of that government, they begin to then plot against the individual that's standing out. And so Father Pfleger's work has been on the attack for years and years. They just haven't found a chink in his armor. And the power of God for Father Pfleger is the people. And in the scriptures, it said they wanted to get Jesus, but what? They feared the people. So the fact that Father Pfleger has his power is in the people. They have to first, when they come after you, have to bring this discredit to you, discredit your name or tear down some of the integrity around you. So the people will, again, 1 week are saying Hosanna in the highest, the next week they're saying crucify him. Then they can crucify him. So you're seeing a prelude to what they did to Martin Luther King, what they did to others, began to put the word out in order to be able to soften the temperature of the people so they can take hands to them.
But when they attack Father Pfleger, they attack all of us. It's not just him. I mean, when they hurt him, they hurt us too.
But if you kill the head, the body falls. It fails. If you the sheep run after the head, the main sheep. So if you knock that out, then they can scatter the sheep. So he is keeping the sheep in a position that they can come in and do what they want to our community. As I mentioned earlier in my writings, I said, my parents moved over there. I was, in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade when I moved over there, 1967, going to St. Sabina. And it was mainly white people over there, but in that area around St. Sabina, 79th Street, that was terrible. Lounges all up and down the area. David Boxdale and the Gangster Disciples would meet up there at the YMCA. We used to be up there on 81st and Racine. It was a condition, and the enterprising of that era wasn't there. So I have a comparison of the work of Father Pfleger. When people say, well, Father Pfleger, why come you Muslims didn't do it? We all work together. That 79th Street corridor was the work of Alderman Streeter, Father Pfleger, and others, and the Nation of Islam, and Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It is working together to make our community a decent and safe place to live. Did it stop all crime? No, because you still got those who want crime in there. Every time someone does a criminal act, the attorney gets $5,000 right off the bat, and the monies start churning. So anytime, as Father Pfleger or yourself or anyone is throwing something in a monkey wrench in the gears to stop the money flowing, you're going to be under attack. So yes, you will be under attack also. Our brother Ronald would be under attack also.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back with more of On the Case right after this. Brother Barney, Muhammad, yes. and Mr. Ronald Collins. Mr. Ronald Collins, thank you again, Brother Muhammad, again for being on the case. And Mr. Muhammad, I wanted to ask you, many people have said that Father Mike is in this position because he is so very, very close to Minister Louis Farrakhan. What do you think about that? Is that true?
Well, we have to add that as an element, as a great element, because Minister Farrakhan is the number one target of this government, because as they said to the brother Farrakhan, they, meaning those who are in power, they don't fear Minister Farrakhan as a man, they fear the idea he represents. And the idea of representing is freeing our people out of the condition of slavery, suffering, and death under the hands of a colonializer who are making merchandise of our people. So yes, if Minister Farrakhan is the number one target, those around him, which would be those who agree with that position, will be a target. And so yes, Father Pfleger has been working side by side with Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for years. So that means he's been a target for years. Some you see, some you don't. One of the things I think adds fuel to the fire is that they're running these TV ads, and on TV and social media, were you abused by a Catholic priest, you may be entitled to compensation. Well, now you added a money element to it. So along with those who are in power who want to use everything that they can to bring you down, now you introduce money into it as an incentive for the people to bring some charges.
So they're actually running those commercials now.
They're on a regular basis. Yes, ma'am. These are TV curtains, and usually they run them because there's litigation going elsewhere, and attorneys are trying to get people to join on to their class action cases, which they make a lot of money. And so when you run that kind of case through there and just say anybody will come up, I mean, somebody like myself, I'll be 72 August 1st, but I went to St. George and Holy Angels. I got baptized and confirmed. I knew the Mass in Latin as an altar boy. I could still say it, Confidio Deo, Mico Tentibia. I knew it because I was part of my foundation. So, the reality is that you can go back and say, yeah, well, when I was back there in the school of St. Sabina, one of the nuns grabbed me so hard and they pinched my skin. That would be considered abuse. So that means I see an ad, I'll go and say, okay, yeah, I was abused. It is ridiculous. That's why they have statutes of limitations. Because of the deterioration of the thought, the deterioration of evidence, people die, witnesses are gone. You can't even place the people at the same spot anymore. So it's just ludicrous, is what I would say. It's ludicrous.
And in this case, Mr. Collins is 30 years old.
Yes.
30 years old. And so how do you feel about that? I mean, this supposedly and allegedly happened, I'm not sure, happened at St. Sabina Academy?
Right.
where children are chaperoned 20 every minute that they're there. How do you feel about that?
I think it's unfortunate, but it simply adds to the body of evidence that has been futilely mounted. They've not been successful in the past, and now to uncover these charges some 33 years later, the question again comes back to motive and very concerning. But going back to your previous question, you look at the fact that the minister and the pastor are forces unto themselves. When their tandem pastorate comes into play, you can appreciate how formidable they are. And I submit that strength and that power is proportionate to the rigors of battling for our challenged citizenship. They are continually speaking out relative to violence, quality education, housing, job and business opportunities. How about political influence and representation, as well as government corruption? In speaking to those issues, you are calling into question the integrity of many in power. That can be very unsettling to those individuals. And their spheres of influence allow them to touch into the far reaches of our community and even back. So there is no time contract. There is no idea or matter of these issues being resolved and or properly settled. So as they come to the fore, they're now being treated as they are new discoveries. If there is more evidence to be uncovered, it has never occurred. And the unfortunate aspect is they will continue with these flare-ups, all in an attempt to discredit those who are in positions of influence within the community. They're positive influences. They've done a yeoman's job of mobilizing this community. And to be sure that there is constantly a voice being heard and a right being defended that should be a birthright that we should never have challenged. But in these cases, when you look at what they represent, when you look at what is being demanded, you come to realize very quickly that the ability to disprove them has happened repeatedly. In the four or five cases now, these challenges have been disproved, yet another appears with whiskers now at 33 years, all these older charges, and nothing has mounted in the way of evidence to find Father Mike guilty for any of them. So to that end, again, I also recognize that the Catholic Church cannot claim clean hands in stewardship of abusive clerics. And this just feels like, again, another instance of overreach where they are taking measures that are extreme, that are punitive, that are unjustified, but they remain persistent. And the disruption to the community, the disruption to the ministry, and most importantly, the disruption to Father Mike's life are such that he must now defend himself for the work that he has done in this community, the expansive and the beneficial nature of it. He has demonstrated all the traits of impactful leadership with measurable gains being made by a community at large, which does not discriminate. And that body of work is always a target with individuals attempting to compromise the man and his mission. So I would submit that the Catholic Church must elevate this matter to a greater level of importance and intensity for this reason. The longer we go on, the longer Father Mike is held away from his ministry and has disrupted his work, the needs of a society are not being met. His is vital leadership. And the idea now that it can be compromised through unfounded charges is most unfortunate. And I would sincerely hope not only that they escalate and accelerate their due diligence, but at the same time, I think it is incumbent upon the cardinal to assume leadership in this role. Now, he sent a vicar down to the church on Sunday to speak on his behalf. This is a matter, again, of critical import that demands the attention of the cardinal. The cardinal should have been there, should have spoken to the issue, and should have been available to answer questions, because there are many relative to going down this road again for which they have not been able to craft a meaningful, substantive, or proven case. And Father Mike is to suffer. It is not fair. It should not be tolerated. But more importantly, it should be ended. And I submit that the cardinal has the power and the influence to impose his will on this continued attempt to undermine the work of what should be considered to be a masterful job as leader of this faith community, as a representative of the Chicago diocese, and that justice must be served. He is about that justice. And the idea that he's being compromised now on what are in fact trumped up charges that are only disruptive, they're misdirected, cannot be proven. And I submit that even this case will go by the wayside with no evidence of Father Mike's wrongdoing. And we must be heard in our demands to the diocese to have the cardinal take control, take charge, and then most importantly, defend against subsequent charges as they would reveal themselves.
Right, and I don't believe that they should remove him from his ministry, because that gives the appearance that he is guilty until proven innocent.
Precisely right. It is a rush to judgment that cannot be justified.
Mr. Muhammad, do you agree with that?
I wholeheartedly agree with my brother Ronald. Absolutely, we are dealing a very, very complex condition of extremes. The extreme is, for years, the Catholic Church has looked the other way while abuse was going on. So it was extreme that they did not even sometimes take the matter under advisement. Extreme. So then policies were put in place and procedures that tilted it to the other extreme. Now you are filing allegations and taking away all due process, righteous due process.
That's right.
So that's a secondary extreme. So what we're dealing with is a flaw. We're dealing with tainted policy. I don't know if the cardinal is able to do it, Brother Ronald. I think you hit on something there, but it may have to go to the Pope to re-evaluate this policy. And so Father Pfleger, showing the humility of a man who set himself under these policies and said, I come into agreement with the Archdiocese that I will work within the framework of the Archdiocese, and put himself out to be treated hopefully fairly. And because of these extremes of these policies, not balanced, he's found himself once again on the other end of extreme of policy that even in the corrupt courts of law in America, they would not allow this. The statute of limitation, the process of evidence, it wouldn't even be allowed in their corrupt courts. So now you come to a place where it's supposed to have justice and compassion. We really have to work on that.
All right, let's go. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more of On the Case right after this.
Peace and love. I'm Michelle Renee, host of Education Nation, live on the Female Solution Global Network every second and fourth Sunday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. The intention of Education Nation is to raise awareness about the literacy crisis and to offer information to combat the problem. The goal is to awaken an army of reading coaches and mentors. You will experience guests who are doing their part in the community to ensure youth in their circles are reading and thinking critically. I look forward to serving you in this capacity. Literacy is freedom, and Education Nation will offer information and strategies to help ensure our young people stay free.
Collins and Brother Barney Muhammad. So
Yes,
we are and again facing alleged sexual abuse cases of 30 years ago. 30 years ago.
right.
When this woman allegedly was in grade school. I mean, the whole thing is so ridiculous. But now the answer is the process, the tainted process, you said, Mr. Muhammad. It is tainted. It is time for change. And so what do you want Pope Leo to do? What can he do? Or should we appeal to him to change the process, to make it more just?
Well, let's look at the number one thing that can be done, not only for Father Pfleger, for any other priest that may come under this extreme condition. First, we need to ask them to deal with the proper rules of evidence, because 30 years, evidence deteriorates, people memories go bad, all that kind of thing happens. So the first thing that I would suggest, humbly, that before any priest, not just Father Pfleger, any priest or any person, is be a minimum requirement of evidence presented and vetted that will say, as you would do in a court of law, it'll have to be probable cause that more likely than not, if I present this evidence, I will get a conviction. If they don't have that evidence on the conviction, able to convict, then they should not put that evidence, they should not put that charge up until they do. If they would just do that part, then we wouldn't get to this part. They would not see the light of day.
So what if they say, okay, you're making a charge against the priest, we have to have you take a lie detector test, which is not valid in a court of law, but perhaps that would stop some of these con artists from filing a lawsuit. What do you think about that?
I believe that would not be acceptable to me. When the courts have determined it is unreliable, then I believe it's unreliable, because I know the courts would use anything they could to determine, meaning that you can give an honest man the lie detector test, and based on the extreme stress they're in, could fail it. Not because of the questions they answer, because of the extreme stress and trauma they're feeling. So again, our jurisprudence system says that you start off with this premise: you are innocent until otherwise proven guilty based on the evidence properly presented and properly adjudicated. So Father Pfleger is innocent. He is innocent until, and that day they bring forth the evidence that can prove his guilt. And so we're going to fight on that, on him being innocent, not only because that's the law, because based on all of the circumstantial evidence of his character, his work, and his life, then we're saying, if we have, as I see those scales of justice there, we're saying the scales weighing is so much in his favor that we wouldn't even bring this under consideration.
Absolutely. So many people are saying, well, Chinta, those two boys from Texas, they passed the lie detector test and Father Mike wouldn't rather. But I did some research and found out the reason is why his lawyers wouldn't let him do that, because it was a setup. It was a PR stunt. And
That's
you're
right.
right about that. So it's just frustrating. So, Mr. Collins, do you think that I'll ask both of you this question? Do you think that we should appeal to the Pope and in a letter and possibly a meeting with him, since he is such a good Pope? I mean, the best I've ever known. To change, and does he have the power to change the policy?
Yeah. I feel that the global reach to the Pope would be protracted and not in Father Mike's best interest. I think it would be too long, too many I's to dot and T's to cross, given Catholic Church protocol. They have been knee deep in these discretions for generations. And to that end, I think it's of critical import for us to zero in on Father Mike's case, zero in on the Chicago diocese, and have them go through a process to correct the ills as it relates to Father Mike in this specific case. At that point, a model can then be established for broadened and or global application. But essential to the order today is to see to it that we are not seeking reconciliation here. And I want to be crystal clear on that. We're not seeking reconciliation, because these two things can't exist, right? The accusation is a lie, and Father Mike's innocence is the truth. They're two separate issues. And most importantly, as my dad would always remind me, there are no versions of the truth. The truth is what we speak. The truth is what represents his position in these unfounded charges. And the thing that I find so interesting, when you look at the imbalance here and the poor handling of yet another charge, we have looked at the fact, and we've proven the fact, that Father Mike has done nothing to this accuser or the previous accusers secretly, right? Let me say that again. He's done nothing to his accusers secretly. Right. Yet he is being reprimanded, displaced, and silenced publicly. Where is the equality in that approach to his justice?
There is no justice.
We have to see to it that we look at the fair and balanced approach that would suggest evidence is necessary before moving forward with any punitive action. The Catholic Church has not done that. And they're guilty. They're guilty of denying Father Mike the right to continue in a work that has proven to be beneficial, not only to society, but to families, individuals, and organizations who are part of his very large, growing, and influential ministry. So let's deal with the facts as they are. And in that, these accusations have not been proven. They've not been substantiated. Father Mike's life has been put on hold. Right. No one else has had an altered course relative to these charges. Father Mike's course has been altered. He has been removed from the process. He has been silenced relative to his work. There's no balance there. And there is no resolution there. So my point is, while the Pope may ultimately figure into this, and he would have a lot of work to do, given the scale of the Catholic Church and the scope of those indiscretions, this is a different matter altogether. It must be resolved here. They must expedite the process and allow Father Mike to return and to continue to dispense his values through the ministry and his pursuits of justice. It's an unfortunate circumstance, and it is my fervent hope that it will be characterized by brevity as they come to a conclusion that will allow him to return to his ministry.
I agree with that, but if you depend on the archdiocese here in Chicago, they drag their feet. So I don't know what the answer is.
Well,
If
I would
you
submit to
can't
you.
come down and say, this is the way it's going to be, then I don't believe the Archdiocese can solve this problem.
I'm convinced that they can, with constant sympathetic pressure. There must be a public outcry for justice. And the only way for that justice to take place and to perform its benefits to a community at large is to expose the facts. And as to the accuser, there are no facts. Father Mike's work speaks for itself, as we've said before. So I submit that given the authority that the Catholic Church has taken, that the Chicago Diocese has taken in removing him, should be the same authority that they use to return him to the pulpit. And if there is any element of pursuit of these facts, let them do so until they prove that they are indeed facts and not accusations. Because the imbalance here is punitive to one person, Father Mike, his character, his integrity, his ministry, his freedom. And simply as a citizen of this city, he's entitled to his day in court. And if there is no evidence, there is no reason for removal. If there is no validation of these charges, there is no justification for separation from his church. So let's get about that process where we restore him and then determine if there is any validity to these accusations. They've not proven them before. This will be no different. And the idea of our falling for these charges, or for the Catholic Church falling for these charges for the purpose of acting in a severe and punitive manner with Father Mike, for the purpose of protecting someone who's deemed it necessary not to come forward for over 3 decades. I submit to you that there are too many variables, there are too many suspected elements, and as we discover the real motive, we're going to find out that there are many other influential factors associated with the circumstance surrounding his dismissal.
Absolutely. Mr. Muhammad, what do you think the answer is?
I think I'm with Brother Ronald, and is the people are going to be the major catalyst. Again, have a pope who is from this area. One of the things that we have to emphasize is as there has to be in the policy, and I'm not trying to get into Archdiocese policies and procedures, the internal conditions. We're dealing with justice. There has to be a place where a priest, whether it's Father Pfleger or anyone, when someone gives this kind of decision that is irreparable in terms of damage, means you can't change and replace that what they do. You got to have an appeal process, something that he can appeal immediately to the Pope or higher. Say, look, this cannot be repaired by doing this. Even the courts of law, if someone brings a case that causes that will cause irreparable damage, they give a stay of any order of execution of a penalty until they can fix it. They let things stay as they are because you can't get that time back. You can't change the conditions that happens. So the first thing we want as a people, when we rally as a people, we want to be focused. We don't want to come just with the problem. There's no such thing as a problem. It's a lack of solution. We want to come with a solution. The solution is you should be fair. The appeal process should go to a higher level out of Chicago because it's a political game. Hope you should come in. You're talking about a major, Chicago is not a minor city. Chicago is a major city. And your major amount of Catholic members are here. And there's not only the Catholic member, this is the headquarters for many religions out here. And it can be a domino effect when this happens and the people become dissatisfied. 30% dissatisfaction brings about 30% change. 100% dissatisfaction will be 100% change. The archdiocese don't want dissatisfaction that will come to the church. And so, but Father Pfleger has been very humble in his willingness to stay with the church because that's his platform. But I pray that they don't drive him away from them because God will bless him even more if you do that. So I'm just saying, if they want, they meaning the archdiocese and the Pope, do not want the church brought to sunder because of this kind of action against a righteous man. When I say righteous, I mean based on what everything I've seen, all the information I've seen. He's a righteous man. And so then there is a penalty when you crucify a righteous man.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back with more with On the Case right after this.
Great day. Great day. It's your girl Asada here to introduce a new female solution show called Asada Says. That's right. Every month we're going to talk about everything I am, from cryptocurrency and financial security to good health and parenting strategies. Come on and talk with me every Tuesday morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And let's do that thing the way Asada says it should be done. See you then. Peace, right here on the Female Solution.
On Brother Barney Muhammad and and Mr. Ronald Collins, a long time. How many years have you been a member of Saint Sabina, Mr. Collins?
Been there for 19 years.
19 years, and I've covered Pastor since 1981, and I know he's a good person. I know that he's not a sexual predator. The sexual predator is in the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And by the way, does any one of you think that Trump is behind this, or am I just being too far left?
That Mr. Trump is behind this? I don't believe Mr. Trump is behind anything. I believe Mr. Trump is the head of a CEO of the corporation United States, and I believe his handlers are behind him. So Mr. Trump don't have the capacity to do the kind of things I'm seeing done. The people who are really in power, the ones who are really moving this, are above Trump, and they're giving him the orders. So at the end of the day, this is going to be ground zero for the fight, as people mentioned about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. This is going to be the ground zero because they cannot have these forces. People say, "Well, you're a Muslim. How you working with Father Pfleger?" A true Muslim is a true Christian. A true Christian is a true Muslim. There's but one God, one power, and so they can't say, "Well, that's a white man, y'all." Look. We have been taught, you're measured by what you're doing and what in your own equity. That man, you don't know who he is, Father Pfleger. You do know that the scriptures told you to be careful how you entertain strangers. You could be entertaining angels unaware. Don't put labels on people. Watch what they do. Watch how they move. Watch how they function. And if you see God in them, then you better recognize God in them. And if you come against them, your arms are too short. So this is the time I don't think Father Pfleger really is going to have to worry about defending himself. As Jesus said, it's not my battle. Father Pfleger has put the work in. His reputation is there. This is time for that man born blind to speak out now. They've seen him, so now you come and testify. So that's why I stood up. I was that man born blind. and I'm coming to testify. I don't care what y'all charge it with. I know I was blind, I now see.
So what do you think about some of these blacks? So I talked to Michael Drayton, who is the Minister of Music at St. Sabina, and he said that there are some blacks who are against Father Mike too. And I did some research, and I'm not going to give her credit by giving the name of her, but there's this group called Flip Chicago Red or something like that. And I looked on her Facebook page, and she denounced Father Mike, and there are other blacks too who are pro-Trump. What's up with our people? I don't understand that. Who wants to take that question?
Please go ahead.
Brother Ronald.
I was just going to say.
We were styled in the Bible as blind, deaf, and dumb. And God comes and sends us messengers to raise us out of that foolish condition. When you hear someone say, I want to flip something red, you say, well, you believing that you should follow the policies of Trump. So then we would put Trump here and Father Pfleger there. So let's measure who you saying we should follow. A 34-count felon, a thug, a criminal, a sexual predator, a hustler. Now you're saying because you want to get some money or some whatever, that only makes you a prostitute, some kind of whore, because you're not dealing with righteous principles. So we already determined what you are. We just need to find out how much you'll be bought for. So you to flip something into the hands of a criminal versus the hand of a man who has righteous principles, and you may disagree with some policies versus you can't disagree with the character. There's nothing wrong with Father Pfleger. There's something wrong with you. And absolutely. I don't have nothing else to say.
Absolutely. I remember when I had my WVON program for 9 years, it was very costly to keep, and my co-host raised the money. I couldn't raise the money, so I let it go. But the Republican guy, the bag man, I call him, he offered me $8,000 to stay on, but with stipulations that I would stop criticizing Trump. I refused it. I lost the program, but I would do it again. So there are people out there who will give you money, but if you have no soul, if you have no character, they take it. Mr. Collins, how do you feel about that?
We live in a time and in a moment where everything is for sale.
Yes.
And those individuals capable of rising above that temptation are those people who are more steeped in their integrity, their mission, and their purpose. And I applaud you for the discipline that you exhibited, but isn't it interesting that your work and your voice have been able to find a comparable platform with an even greater exposure and influence. So to that end, I value that we cannot think and act monolithically, right? Those who speak against us, fine, they are entitled. And Father Mike is one of the strongest proponents of First Amendment right. Freedom of speech, freedom of thought, do what you must, right? Within the confines of the law. But at the same time, we will never be able to shape all opinions, all postures, and all values to mimic our own. But we must be smart enough to know that those things that we believe, those things that promote the quality of life that this ministry is about, that those things should be free for the purpose of what? Pursuit by those who value them. But there should be no level and degree of entitlement that allows one person's needs and desires to be greater than the other. It's comparable to the value of our vote. Our vote counts for one, but it's the accumulation of those votes and our values and our systems that can change laws in this country. So activism, which is a platform of this ministry, activism is the way in which we change the course. We can change the course of history. We can change the level and degree of political influence being held by either party. And again, that's assuming a two-party system. But we have to get to the point where we are singularly focused on our purpose and our direction realizing that we cannot allow detractors to lessen our emphasis, to lessen the value that we place on those things that will allow justice to manifest itself in our lives. And Father Mike right now, the voice that he is, the platform that he maintains, is being victimized because that justice has not been extended to him. And that the Catholic Church must recognize, and the Chicago Diocese in particular, must recognize the fact that his treatment in this instance is indeed prejudicial because there has been no basis for his exile. And the due diligence, however it is unfolding, must come forth with evidence that would justify their actions in removing him from the church. So absent that, restoration is in order.
Yep.
Father Mike must be restored. And remember, that's the position. But we have to speak to a greater element of his character, his integrity, his purpose, his platform, and his direction. He won't be denied. And I value the fact that he has the strength of spirit and character that has allowed him to continually do battle in this space. So this rejection by the Chicago Diocese is nothing new for him.
Right.
It's happened before. He has shown a resiliency. He has shown a sense of conviction that allows him to rise above the fray. And I pray that he will continue to be as motivated as he is, as purposeful as he is, because his body of work cannot be dismissed. And more importantly, it can never be replaced.
Absolutely. He is very much rejected. He is used to that. His own family rejected him. We are his family. So, Mr. Muhammad, what as he is our family, what should we do collectively?
We must do like that we're told when we do our Stations of the Cross. When we see him fall with that cross, we got to get up under that cross and carry it with him. So we have to begin to put our forces forward and speak in one voice and raise the voices of the people, and we'll be successful.
So it's time to fight back.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's time to fight back?
Immediately, if not sooner.
All right. And so, Mr. Collins, how should we fight back now?
Through activism, the very platform that Father Mike has used to spread his gospel, and to allow anyone who will listen to understand that he has not been treated fairly, that these charges have been misdirected, and that they have been disruptive. And the Catholic Church has allowed them to be disruptive by acting as they have in advance of final judgment. So to that end, our pressure should be on the Chicago Diocese to move quickly and, frankly, to reverse their order, to reinstall Father Mike so that he can continue to do the good work that is on display every day for the public and private sector to understand the work that he's done. And as the Catholic Church, as they right that ship, they can then get about the business of dispensing of those elevated charges that are without foundation, and to also protect the diocese against these arbitrary charges and the disruptive nature that they have created and they continually and repeatedly have caused in the life of Father Mike. He's not deserving of that. Again, this is an insult to his intelligence, to his integrity. And all I say is, some insults bruise, but some other insults ignite. And I submit to you that this will ignite his charge, not only to clear his name, not only to prove his innocence, but to fortify his foundation, his faith, his ministry, and the impact that it has on the faith community and society at large.
Yes. Okay, we are out of time. I want to thank both of you Mr. Ronald Collins and Brother Barney Muhammad. And please give my love to Minister Farrakhan and my condolences on the loss of his very, very beautiful wife.
Yes, ma'am. He tells me to tell the soldiers that he loved them. And you are all soldiers. So Minister Farrakhan says he loves you.
All right.
Thank you so very much. Okay, that's it for this week. And I do hope and pray that your suggestions, both of you, will be accepted by the Archdiocese, because it's time for a change.
Yes, indeed.
We can't go through this
Absolutely.
again. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you. Great being with you.
Thank
Brother
you.
Ronald.
Yes, sir.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jareth. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.